Most people love cassava, and you'll find it in our Kenyan streets when it's fried and then you're served with kachumbari. However, once you harvest your cassava, it only takes 3 days to turn black without any form of good preservation. But dried cassava chips can last you for 6 months, or even when you take it to the posho mill, you can turn it into flour and use it for a long time. There are 3 methods that I have used to preserve cassava without fridge, no electricity, and 0 costs after sun drying them in the sun. I'm Carol, and today I'm going to show you 3 methods you can use to preserve cassava, and this also works for sweet potatoes and arrowroots as well. First method is the sun-dried cassava chips. First, you need to peel your cassava, wash, slightly thin your cassava like 5 millimeters, and then dry for 2 days in the sun. If you slice too thick, mold will develop and then you will have to throw away the cassava chips. Soak for 10 minutes to remove sap, drain, lay on a raised mesh or a clean lasso in the sun, and then cover with a net to keep the flies off. Once you dry for 2 to 3 days, store in a tight air bucket or sack. Your cassava can stay this way for 6 months. Whenever you need to use your dried cassava, soak it for 30 minutes and then boil, and it will be ready to eat. Second method is making cassava flour, which you can use for ugali or porridge. Take those dried chips, pound them in a mortar or grind at a posho mill at a cost of 5 shillings per kilo. Sieve to remove any chunks. This cassava flour is free from any chemicals and is organically grown in our kitchen garden. Store the cassava flour in a clean jar or a bucket with a lid. You can also put 2 dry chilies to keep the weevils away for 6 months. The third method is what we call fufu or fermented cassava. It's popular with the Nigerians. Here's how you make fufu. Ferment your cassavas for 3 days. You smell sour, and that's a good thing. Fermentation removes a chemical called cyanide, which makes it soft. Drain out all the water and sun dry for a day, and then you can pound it or take it to the posho mill, and it will taste like fufu. It lasts you 2 weeks when it is dried. If you're boiling your cassava, make sure that you boil it for 20 minutes to remove that chemical called cyanide. Here are some mistakes you can also avoid. If you cut your cassava in thick slices, it means that you get mold inside. Therefore, slightly thin your cassava. Second mistake you can avoid is drying it on the ground. Rather, use a raised mesh or a raised flat place to dry your cassava. The third mistake you can avoid is storing while it is still soft. If you're using the first method of sun drying your cassava, make sure that it is completely dry. Grow cassava in your kitchen garden. You can use these 3 methods to preserve your cassava and use it for a long time. If you love eating cassava, comment cassava and which method you would best use to preserve your cassava for a long time. See you in the next one.